Welcome back to True Print for Life. I'm your host, Christina Vera.
And I'm your co-host, Maylin Sambois.
Welcome back. Really wanted to thank everyone for your continued sharing, following. Feel free to inbox us if you have ideas for future episodes of True Print for Life. If there's a certain guest speaker that you would like us to interview, feel free to tag them in the comments or share their information directly with us via DM, because it is always Maylin and I's priority to go out and to find those experts or those motivational individuals that will be able to provide, tips and tools and strategies to help you, help us. Heck, they might come here and help us.
Help us.
We need all the help we can get sometimes. You need a village. It's just not one set person. We all are in this work together.
Yeah, so sometimes it doesn't have to be like this inspirational story. I think everybody has a story.
Right.
And their story could be exactly what somebody else needs for their next best step. So don't ever feel like your story is not big enough or not impactful enough. Like, we'll love to hear. We'd love to share it with the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you never know what little tidbit somebody might have that might, resonate or inspire or activate something in someone else.
Absolutely. How we let that stop us, we wouldn't even have a podcast. Because, we were like, why do we have
podcast, a company? I mean,
anything. So don't let whatever limiting beliefs you're hearing right now when you hear that invitation, put that to the side and just send us a message. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. And if you feel like you're really just struggling and needing strategy and tips and inspiration, make sure you grab a copy of our latest book, The Journey from Who You Are to Who You're Meant to Be. It is on Amazon, Kindle, eventually Audible. But for now, you can find that book online. And today I really wanted, it's so weird, we've been kind of inserting different aspects of the book throughout the year, which actually September will be a full year that the book.
Since we launched it.
Since we launched it, which is crazy. So we'll have to start thinking about what does that 1 year look like. By then we should have the Audible done. Maybe that's the big gift. The gift is that the Audible will be ready. But in the meantime, I was thinking about chapter 10 of the book, and it's titled The Journey Continues. And I think if you have read the book or in the process of reading the book or haven't yet read the book, it really just kind of outlines every step of one person, specifically Maylin and I's journey, both personally, professionally, and every step, whether good or bad, has been a part of our story, a part of our journey, and what we are learning ultimately that, it's not about the final destination in one's life. It's really all the steps and all the experiences in between. And in chapter 10, we talk a lot about what comes next. And I think part of it is not necessarily what comes next in a literal sense. It's more so of what do you want to start being more intentional about? What do you feel like you need to realign yourself to be able to start kind of showing up and living more intentionally? And, every day, give or take a week, just every week is different. And I think you have to be honest with yourself. And some days it's I'm not feeling any of this. You ever just wake up and you're like, I don't like none of these clothes. I don't like any. And you just wake up and you're like, I am not feeling any of this. And that part of that could be burnout. Part of that could be frustration. Or maybe part of that is just growth. And you're like, you know what I liked a year ago, I just don't like today. And that's okay. But before making any drastic decisions like throwing out your full wardrobe, it's hold on, let's, what is it that you don't like the way the clothes fit? Is it a health thing? Do we need to start drinking more water? Or, just being able to pause and evaluate before taking action and taking steps.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think at least once a week, for me, I can wake up with those thoughts of what in the Lord is happening. Or why am I here? How am I here? And I have to be extra intentional about finding the smallest thing to be grateful for in that moment, because it's super easy to go on a spiral.
Yeah.
Right? I'm this age and I'm not where I wanted to be, and I don't have these things I said I will have by this time. Or I look at my to-do list and and you're like, what happened? So yeah, in those moments, I'm finding things to be grateful for. And the quickest thing for me is that I woke up, and so many people didn't wake up that day. So I have at least an opportunity to make a small movement on whatever the goals are. I took your advice the other day, and I clear my whiteboard. I had a whiteboard that I had for a long time, just so many things in there. So I'm trying to track the whole world in one whiteboard. And as inspiring as I think it was when I made it, it became extremely suffocating. It became a reminder of all the things that I didn't get done, or I wasn't doing, and I even avoided looking at it. And then having a conversation with Christina, she's like, just start over, like just do this and do that. And I was like, girl, I can't even, you know how much work went into creating that? And then I'm like, well, let's take a picture. So I took a picture of it, and then I erased everything. And then I added back I added like the month. So I'm in June right now. And then I divided it into all the buckets that mentally I'm constantly trying to get things done with. And instead of adding 3,000 things to each bucket, I added like 5, maybe top. Minimum was 3. And I said, all right, so what I would like us to do is to go through it and focusing on doing at least one of those buckets a day. Like just get one of the little 5 items, and let's see if we can get this done. And that's where I am. So I took a picture of that as well. And then I transferred that into my purple, if you see my purple agenda, and I just mirror what's on the whiteboard. So then I put like little lines next to it so I can check off, because I do believe in the endorphins that come out when I do the little check off and the thing. So that is a system, because it could get really frustrating when you have the talent, you have the skills, you have all the things, and yet you're not inspired sometimes to get done the things that that have to get done to help you get to the next step. But you wake up and you're complaining about not getting to where you want to go, because in reality, I had to be brutally honest with myself. I'm not doing the things that are going to get me to the next step. So, when the journey continues, it doesn't mean that you have accomplished the things you wanted to do. But every day you do have and every moment, I think you have an opportunity to just move forward, right? It's not starting over, because we're not starting over because we're not starting from zero, but it's just moving forward. So for me, it's like, what is the next step? What is the next line on my to-do list that I want to get done today?
Right.
If it's healthy, maybe it's drinking water. I started drinking more water, not crazy water, like just maybe 40 ounces of water, a day more. And my skin is already clearing up. Like I already can see my skin getting, I was like, hey, look at you, girl, a little flawless going up in here, and I love that, because
a win is a win.
A win is a win.
Absolutely.
Like, it's a waking up a little earlier than you intended to or you wanted to. It's a drinking more water. It's a breathing. Like, don't overcomplicate this. Right. I feel like sometimes also we overcomplicate and then we get paralyzed because we just want to do so much at one time.
Yeah.
And it's just not feasible.
Right. No, it's so true. And you said something earlier, the motivation or the inspiration, I think you said, is not always there. And that's valid for everybody. Like there's no one person that can say they are motivated or inspired every single day. And if they say that, I would question the validity. Lying. Because it truly is, it's more of a discipline. There are going to be days that, you're not inspired to go work out. Which I haven't been inspired to work out in several years.
My body's telling me,
my body's like, girl, you need to be inspired. But it's just one of those things where it's not. I'm not gonna lie, you can't be mad that this is what I tell myself. You can't be mad that you're gaining weight if you're not eating right and you're not working out. And it's not that you're inspired to go do those things, but if I'm saying that my priority is to be healthier, then my discipline and my actions have to align with that. And there's no judgment. It's just about, if you're saying certain things are priority, if I am saying certain things are priority, are my actions, are my investments, are my disciplines actually aligned? So if you looked at my bank account, if you looked at my day-to-day, my calendar, is that aligned to the 4 or 5 things that I'm saying is priority? And if they're not, then A, we have to stop lying to ourselves.
Yes.
B, stop doing it if you're flexing for other people, because people don't really care.
And they don't pay your bills.
They don't pay your bills either. But it's also like, be very clear about whatever it is to you, because ultimately it circles back to that discipline piece. And I was watching the NBA Finals this week. Well, I've been watching it for the past several weeks. But, obviously, if you don't watch sports, or you have, the New York Knicks won in Game 5 the other night. And,
way to go, guys.
And, I mean, they haven't won a championship in 50 years, 51 years, I think, to be exact. And when they were interviewing the MVP player, Brunson, they had asked him, and they were like, what does this moment mean to you? Like, especially when it was such a big game. It was huge. And a lot of folks were like, oh, it should have went 7. It's like, no, if you could wrap it up. And I was going for the Knicks in 4, but it didn't work out. And I think there was a reason why it didn't work out, but I'll keep that theory to myself. But, hearing him speak, he said, this is for the moments where I was playing in the summers, when I was in the gym early on, when nobody was watching, where he said, for me, it was always a mindset. Like, I knew I would be a champion. I knew, even though people counted me out. He said that even in high school, he wasn't highly recruited. College, he's kind of always been like under the radar for a lot of people, despite the fact that his dad was already connected to the NBA. So he had proximity. He had the athletic ability, but he still was never seen as like a top tier athlete. And so for him, it was that discipline of like, okay, they count me out, but I bet on me. And he was in the gym, he was doing all these things, and was, actually scored some of the highest points in the NBA Finals history in that last game. And so it kind of just ties into what we're saying. It's like champions, or whatever it is that you are looking to achieve, that doesn't happen by chance. There is discipline that's required. There's, a lot what we talk about with proximity in your village, and, creating habit. I mean, there's a formula, and it doesn't necessarily come from a pedigree. It doesn't necessarily come from, economic influence. I mean, if you have the economic abilities, that makes it a little more accessible, I believe. But certainly it's a discipline, it's a mindset, I believe that this is where I'm going to be, and I'm going to do what it takes within healthy reason to get there and to accomplish those things.
Yes, whether I'm motivated or not.
Exactly, whether you're motivated or not. And not saying that you can't take days to just like recoup.
Just be.
Yeah, just be. And I think that's a piece sometimes where I've talked to you about that. It's like there are not enough, like the being part I've always struggled with, because I think it was the way we were raised. Like, you don't just be. It's like you have to be busy. You
just sitting?
You can't just sit around and look out the window. Like growing up how we grew up. And I think it's because we were a big part of that poverty ecosystem of just like, you got to get out there, you got to make money, you got to have multiple jobs, you got to do. There is this constant, and you will hustle your way into an early grave. You will hustle your way into mental health breakdowns. You will hustle your way into, this scarcity mindset of feeling like you never have enough, even though you have what you need. And so I think a big part of, having to retrain our brains into saying like, no, I could just be for a couple of days. Now, you can't be every single day and expect to have, now, depending on what your goals are. I don't know what your goals are, but I know for my goals, I know that I can only be, for a certain amount of days a week, for a certain amount of hours. But that doesn't negate the fact that I have goals and aspirations, but I'm also not a machine. And it's taken me many years to be like, no, like you can go sit outside, or you could go to the cabin with your family, or you can go, like whatever that looks like for you. I think there has to be that healthy balance of not always being on.
Yeah, and I think rest for our culture was
generation
was seen as lazy. Where now it's like, it's mandated. Like you talk to anybody younger and like, oh, I need my rest, I need my sleep. And I'm like, okay, now they're taking that a little extreme, but that's just out there.
No, for sure.
But for us, rest was not really a thing. I mean, when you had 2 to 3 jobs at the same time, I mean, since high school, I had 2 to 3 jobs. So it has taken me, when I looked, I'm like, why are you? I'm like, yeah, but you done this since high school.
Right.
So this is nothing that it's new. Now, I also seen how women specifically have had 2 to 3 jobs, have had to maintain a house, have had to support families and be this emotional and financial support for a lot of people. And that makes you sick.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of women are developing illnesses, chronic ones,
Right.
because of all the stress that they have not had the opportunity to release. I feel pretty blessed because we have had, through the years, we made it a priority to go to retreats and go and spend time in nature and do certain things that I believe helped us release some of those, stressors that we had. And even now, may not be a retreat, but maybe is having a cup of coffee in your backyard. Maybe it's reading a book. Maybe it's having your bath on Saturdays or whatever day you have it. So it doesn't have to be this grandiose, action to start releasing stress. But as a woman, and even to some men listening, you have to make that a priority, because if you don't make your rest, which we call it being, it could be rest, disconnecting. If you don't make that a priority, your body will force you.
Oh, yeah.
I explored that when I was in college. I think it was the semester before I graduated. My body totally shut down. I lost 50 pounds. I almost died. I mean,
Really? When was this? You said college?
Yeah, it was in college. Wow. Yeah, I was trying to, because I wanted to finish. I was like, I have to finish this school thing. So I took extra classes. I was working 2 jobs. I had a lot of things. And I don't know if I was getting the signs and I wasn't listening. And one day I remember I took my last final that summer. I got home and I remember opening my eyes, and I don't know if I was at the hospital. I don't know if I was so unconscious still, I think. All I remember was the doctor telling my mom, she might not make it.
This was in New York?
In New York. I was in New York at the time. And I remember them like, she may not make it, so we just have to do what we can. And I'm like, who am I not going to make it? I'm like, they're talking about me? And I literally lost 50 pounds that summer. I couldn't talk. All I could eat was liquid. And, it was a harsh reality then. But since then, I did better at taking care of myself, because I saw firsthand what stress and if you ignore your body, what it does. So at that time, anytime my body starts doing anything iffy, I'm like, all right, what's out of alignment? Because something's out of alignment. So that was a hard lesson, but it was a blessing to me, because then it really helped me see how my body will react to certain things. Now I became stronger, of course. I was like, hey, if you lost 50 pounds, keep them off, girl, right? Like I did a couple of things. And I was like, okay, what is the blessing in this? But not knowing then what I know now, it opened my eyes to how people get sick and sometimes they died. Had I not had my mother at that time, I won't be here talking about it, because I think the level of care my mom had to take of me and all the things she had to do for me to make sure that I survived that period of my time. And then I did. I bounced back. I went back to school that fall. I was able to finish my degree in December instead of the following May. So I accomplished my goal. But it's because I had, like, my mom. I really don't think, like I had my dad who checked in on me, but he wasn't next to me on my bed every day. Right. Like, make sure that I ate all the things. So I say this to say, it's important that you take time for yourself. And a lot of you are having these symptoms of overstress and worn out and, burned out, and you just pushing forward. And you're not taking the time to evaluate what's out of alignment in your body. Do you need to get help? Whether it be a therapist, whether it be go and get a checkup. Maybe you have high blood pressure. Maybe you have something illness that you don't even know. Like, take the time to go check on you, because if you don't, your body will shut you down. And then you're going to take twice as hard sometimes or longer to get to your goal, because now you have to take care of your body. Yeah. If you don't have your body and your sanity, you can't go and get your goals, right? So now I do, even if I have a lot of things, I'm like, sometimes I feel guilty. I'm like, I'm sitting down drinking coffee or I'm meditating, and I'm like, girl, you know how many things you got to do? I'm like, yes, but I need 5 minutes to clear my mind. I need to have this moment to breathe. Yeah. So there's a balance, and I think you have to find what works for you, but please do find what works for you.
Absolutely. Well, I didn't know that. That was crazy. I didn't know her back then, by the way. 'Cause I would have been like, girl, sit down. You're stressing me out.
Oh, I know. This is how when we met, we're like, well, we cannot go back, but we can start from here.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that makes total sense now. Okay. I know, but I mean, it's so like a perfect example of just like how it creeps up on you. You know, obviously in your mind, you're being productive, you're knocking things out. And then all of a sudden your body is like, hold on, like, you know, it hit the reset button.
It did.
And, you know, and I think that's for a lot of folks, especially now, I think, you know, honestly, since the pandemic, even now where we are, you know, with political climate and just the economy, you know, everybody just, the energy, you know, and I don't know, you know, you don't never know what people are going through, but you could just feel the energy in certain spaces. And that's why I think I'm such a huge, and we are huge proponents of like people we hang around or do business with. You know, obviously it's never going to be always like, you know, like unicorns and rainbows every single place you go. But if you have the capacity and the ability to like really choose and pick, you know, your friendships, which you should have that freedom to do. But in business, it can be give or take depending on what the business is, because that energy is so it could swallow you whole.
It attaches to you.
It attaches to you. And if you're already a person who is struggling to find your balance and to find kind of your rhythm, locking arms with somebody who is like at square one, whether you're dating them, married to them, just want to, you know, have friendships, that could start you all over. And it's not that you're not a caring person and you don't want to, you know, be that shoulder for other people, but there comes a point in your life where it's like, do you want to be that shoulder, or do you want to be that, you know, that partner? Now you're going through everything that they're going through, whether it's got something to do with you or not. And I think that's the hardest part for many people, is to come to the realization that what's weighing you down may not even be your problem. It may not even be your circumstance, but you have locked arms, whether you're in business with folks, whether you're dating somebody, you work for somebody who like their core values. I remember working for corporations that I'm like, I know dang on well I can only be here a year, because the toxicity, every day I would have anxiety waking up, knowing I had to go into that building, knowing I had to see that boss, knowing just you going to battle, to war, and you just going to work.
You're trying to get a paycheck.
You're just trying to get a check. I'm just trying to do my job. And so it's like, you know, and as hard as that is, because we all need that financial security, like you are worth so much more than just that paycheck. You know, it's about what you're bringing home. It's about the day-to-day physical and mental taxing. And so like really being intentional of saying like, who do you want to work for? Who do you want to be friends with? Who do you want to be married to? Who do you want to be dating? Because all of that does play a huge part in also helping you to, you know, going from who you are to who you're meant to be.
Yes, and it's even setting goals. Like I remember, I have a friend, he lives in another state now, and as he was starting his career, I was like, well, what is your goal? Like, how much are you going to make? And he was like, what? I'm like, yeah, like you have to have a goal. Like, where are you going next? And through the years, we would just check points, and I would see like how his income like double at his position, or he'll take more responsibility. He didn't want to at first, but he would then, and see the income go up. And he was just setting goals. He'd be like, this is so silly. I'm like, I know, but you still have to do it. But, you know, kind of setting goals for yourself. But right now, I think we're in a culture where, like, you don't like something, you quit and you leave, right?
Yeah.
Like, but we are in an environment that I personally don't recommend that. I think that if you are somewhere that you feel stuck, or your values are not in alignment, that is important to be recognized, because then you know, like, why are you feeling a certain way? Like, what is tagging at your soul? But then figure out where you want to go next, right? So your journey doesn't stop there. It goes somewhere. So you don't like this job because of whatever it is. All right, let's do some research. Where do you want to work? What company do you want to be part of? You know, is there a company that exists? Or if not, do you have to create one?
Yeah.
Because maybe there's not a company out there that you want to work for, but maybe there's something that you want to create. Then I would say wherever you are, start creating that. And then slowly, like, you can test the waters while you're getting a paycheck to fund your life. Because a lot of people do take a risk, and I 100% I think it's great if you have the ways to do it. But where we are right now, with so many unhoused people, I think you have to take a more intentional approach on your next step. Like, take a smart make a plan, see who's doing what you want to do already and kind of like start building a plan. Don't go to your friend that hasn't worked, for how many years and they're struggling. Like that is not who you want to, like talking to your point, that's not who you want to go with. Yeah. And when you're having people that are struggling around you, I think you have to think about what your capacity is. Mm-hmm. Because it's not that we don't want to help people. We're in the nonprofit world. We want to help the world. But individually, you have to figure out what is your capacity. Mm-hmm. How, and have that conversation with yourself and with God and your beliefs and your values. Like, what are my non-negotiables? How much can I help? Mm-hmm. If you choose to help, how much and how would you help? Sometimes help comes in a prayer. Many times you want to give and you can. So can you pray for that person? Can you find a resource in the community for that person? I find myself now, because I want to help, but I can't. I can't help everybody. So I find a resource. I go on Google and I find what organization is helping with this issue you're having. Do I have a couple bucks? Can I give it to you? Great. If I cannot, then I'm going to pray for you because I cannot give you what I don't have. Yeah. And sometimes that weighs on us because we want to do more. But in order for you to do more, you have to be more. And I think we have to grow ourselves financially, emotionally, wellnessly in order to help others. Yeah. And I think that's where we are right now. I think everybody should just take a moment. So if you are in this place and you have this chapter, the journey continues, I think it's a good moment to now evaluate where you are. Mm-hmm. Are you happy with your? Because many people are happy. I'm like, good for you. Some people listen to the podcast and they'll send me a message. They love the podcast. They love where they are. I heard a girl say this week at a retreat I was, everything in her life was going amazing. And I was like, that is incredible. Yeah. I love that. Right. Everything. So there is people that everything is going according to what they want, and that's amazing. So if you are in that space, do you have the capacity to share some of your wisdom or some of your resources with somebody else where their life may not be going so great? Yeah. Maybe it's an organization that needs your skill set. Maybe you overcame something that somebody else needs now. Mm-hmm. And if your life is not going so great for you, then start figuring out why. Why is that? Not judgment on yourself. Have grace with yourself. But then turn on to resources like our book, our podcast, other people in the community that can possibly help you get to the next step, because nobody figured this out. None of us were born with this information. We are figuring it out as we go. Absolutely. And you're not alone. You're not dumb. You're not stupid. You're exactly where you need to be. And we are here to help you hopefully get to the next step. Absolutely. And as we get ready to wrap this particular episode, there are a couple inserts that we want to highlight from chapter 10 of our latest book, The Journey from Who You Are to Who You're Meant to Be. On page 154, it talks a little bit about the journey continues every time you recommit to your values, every time you honor your voice, every time you keep a promise to yourself. Let this time we have spent together be a reminder that there's no arrival, only evolution. You don't need to have it all figured out to move forward. You just need to be willing to keep asking the hard questions, willing to keep learning, willing to keep becoming. This final chapter isn't an ending. It's a handoff to your future self, the one who's watching you from the mirror, cheering you on. She's already proud. She already knows how far you've come, and she's waiting patiently for you to meet her on the other side of every brave choice you've made. And on page 163, we have some additional reflection prompts. So as you're listening to this episode, I would encourage you to pause right here until you're at a space. If you don't have the book yet, you could write these questions down. But on page 163, we have 7 reflection prompts. And I would encourage you, like, maybe you do one reflection a week. Don't try to do it all in one day, because some of these questions, it may take you a little longer to really kind of think through, and you can certainly journal about it. But in this particular case, we're just asking you to reflect. And you'll find there are 7 reflection prompts that you can, look through. And I think one of the ones that I want to highlight before we wrap today, in 2 or 3 specific areas. Question number 3, where in my life am I still playing small or hiding? And what is it costing me? So I would encourage you, all the prompts are important, but specific to this episode today, I want to highlight the prompt number 3. Where in my life am I still playing small or hiding?
and what is it costing me? Question or prompt number 4, what does my next level look like? What small action can I take this week to align with it? And then question number 5, how can I honor both who I've been and who I am becoming? And so today we've talked a lot about just our own journeys in this, becoming. It's not over. It's never over. But every single day, figuring out and taking the time to reflect on what's working, what's not working. As Maylin said, it's definitely with grace and with understanding that every day we do our part for progress. And so we hope that, this episode was helpful for you. Anything you want to highlight before we wrap?
I like number 7.
Okay.
It says, what do I want to remember when things get hard or uncertain?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I always say I can do hard things.
Yes.
Not forever, but I can do hard things for this moment. And I have overcome harder things. Yeah. And that is what I use for number 7 personally. But number 7, what do I want to remember when things get hard or uncertain, is something that I encourage you to also think about.
Love that. Well, let us know, any thoughts, feedback, suggestions. If you haven't gotten your copy of the book, I would encourage you to do so. Certainly are going to look at more ways that we can maybe virtually get together to talk through the book. And as I mentioned, that can be found on Amazon and in most places where books are sold. But in the meantime, always remember, it's bigger than you.
Thank you so much for listening today. We're excited and we hope that you follow us on
Instagram, True Print for Life, YouTube channel, also True Print for Life. And make sure that you share, like, watch our videos. Make sure that you follow us on all streaming platforms.